So we know Barr's looking into the activity of some private actors who seem to be running this black op outside of formal channels, sending all this fake information into the United States about Trump colluding with the Russians. Steele's a private actor, right? He's not working for the government. Is that who he's talking about? I don't know. I can't get in Bill Barr's head, but key lock. It seems to be really odd. Barr has said twice they're really looking into these private actors. Interesting. So we know Steele has claimed he's getting this information, this Russia hoax stuff, from this guy Trebnikov. We know Steele's working with the FBI. We also know a noted intelligence contact, Stefan Halper, is also working with the FBI. It would be so crazy if Halper had a relationship to this Russian Trebnikov too, wouldn't it? Let's go to this Daily Caller piece. This is just fascinating. It's an oldie but goodie, but worth your time, by Chuck Ross. FBI informant, they're talking about Halper, bragged about links to Russian spies in secret recording of Trump aid. This is too much. From the piece. These are Halper's own words in a recording they have. I have a lot of friends in Russia, Halper told George Papadopoulos during recorded conversations which occurred over drinks and which the FBI recorded. My point is that, Halper said, the Russians can be very helpful to us at this time, and we've got some great information coming out. It was all fake. Piece goes on. Halper, a former Cambridge professor. Joe, Cambridge is in the UK, right? Just checking. Yep. Just checking. There you go. Joe's 3 for 3. London, UK, Cambridge. This is really weird. Halper, a former Cambridge professor, rattled off the names of Russians. Vyacheslav Trebnikov, Leonid Shedbarshin, and Yuri Trotov, according to a transcript of the secretly recorded conversation released on Thursday. Wow. Were these private actors working together? Because they're both citing the same guy for the fake pee-pee stuff and Russia stuff. And no, I won't stop calling it the pee-pee stuff because that's how stupid it really was. And it deserves to be mocked and laughed at. So the bad news, Barr's statements about the CIA and improper activity don't seem to comport with reality. The good news, he has said multiple times he's looking into private actors. Steele, private actor, right? Halper, private actor. And they're both claiming they have the same Russian source. Trebnikov, this Russian higher up in the Russian intelligence services. Crazy how Christopher Steele is from the UK. And Halper, who's from the United States, works there. While Gina Haspel, our current CIA director, was the station chief. All under her nose? She doesn't smell anything? She would be the worst CIA station chief in human history. Do you concur, Omakos?
Yeah, not too good.
I just want to let that settle. That was actually a radio. I had to say that because I want to let that settle a bit before I get into the explanation here. What is Barr hiding? Barr is obviously hiding that Brennan knew about these private actors, likely knew about them, what they were doing, because we have Brennan passing the information in Steele's dossier to Harry Reid. And he's probably trying to give the CIA and Gina Haspel a pass by pushing this all off on Steele and Halper, the, quote, private actors. But I'm going to get to a Washington Post piece here in a second. This means either one of two things. If Barr's right that the CIA did nothing wrong and Gina Haspel, who was in charge of was the London station chief at the time, it means Joe's right that she may be one of the worst CIA station chiefs we've had in human history because a U.S. intelligence asset working in Cambridge, Stefan Halper, is claiming to be working with the Russian head of the SVR, Trebnikov, in Cambridge in London, and she doesn't know anything about it. So she really stinks, number one. Or number two, she knew about it the whole time. Halper and Steele were making it up. They used the United Kingdom and their intelligence service to embarrass Trump and set him up, and they lied about it the whole time, and Haspel knew. Either one of those options ain't good. It's not good. It's not good. Either she was really stupid or she was in on the whole thing. Let's go to the Washington Post. I always love bringing out these left-leaning sources because none of this has been retracted. There's a conspiracy theory by CNN, The Guardian, and the Washington Post. Here's the Washington Post back in 2018. Cambridge University in the United Kingdom, for the liberals watching. Cambridge University perch gave FBI source, that was Halper, access to top intelligence figures and cover as he reached out to Trump associates. This is crazy. The Washington Post knows about this and the CIA station chief in London doesn't? Let's go to the Washington Post piece. For 15 years, Halper convened seminars, informal dinners, and apartment gatherings in Cambridge, again in the UK for liberals, with leading academics and one-time leaders of the British spy services. His perch as a Cambridge professor gave Halper, a veteran of 3 Republican administrations, the chance to mingle with figures such as then DIA chief Mike Flynn, wow, that's weird, and Vyacheslav Trebnikov, there's that Trebnikov again, former director of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service. This is all happening in London under our current CIA director's nose, and she doesn't know anything about it? A veteran intelligence operative, according to the Washington Post, not me, Halper, who's worked in Republican administrations too, who is being reported on by the Washington Post as having contacts with some of the most important intelligence figures in Russia. By the way, the same intelligence figure cited as a source by the guy who made up the dossier. And the London station chief of the CIA knows nothing about it. You know what's really crazy about this too? You may be like, at this point, hey, Dan, how come Trump okayed Gina Haspel as director of the CIA? I don't know. I don't have a good reason. Was there some horse trade that went on somewhere? I don't know. If this happened under Gina Haspel's nose, again, she's either the worst station chief in the history of London, or more likely, number 2, she knew about this entire operation to spy on Trump using London, UK intelligence assets and private actors who were working right under her nose. I don't know why she was selected as the CIA director. I have no good reason to tell you that. But I do find it awfully suspicious that Fusion Ken Delanian, remember Fusion Ken Delanian at NBC News? Ken Delanian is an alleged reporter, I know Joe knows him, who has been implicated in this Spygate media scandal because he's got a connection to Fusion GPS and getting tips from him. They jokingly call him Fusion Ken Delanian. Whenever they want to leak something about Spygate to make it look good for the scandal players, they give it to Ken Delanian at NBC. So it's awfully weird that Ken Delanian wrote this story at NBC about Gina Haspel. Check this out. Why do so many spies support Gina Haspel to head the CIA? That's classified by Fusion Ken Delanian. Let's go to a screenshot from the piece. Who else okayed Gina Haspel? Thought this was a great idea to put Gina Haspel in charge of our CIA now. Maybe to. Oh, John Brennan. Ha! Quote, Fusion Ken Delanian, NBC. Former CIA case officer John McGuire, who backs President Trump, has almost nothing in common politically with John Brennan, the former CIA director under Obama. But they both agree that Gina Haspel should be the next CIA director. The swamp isn't real. It's a conspiracy theory. What better person to have in charge of the CIA to make this all go away? And then Barr's like, no, we didn't see anything improper at the CIA. Gina Haspel's like, no, I didn't see anything improper either. Nothing. Really, it all happened in London while you were there. You know what the worst part about the whole story is? And we'll wrap this show up. The worst part about this whole story is, as private actors, we're using foreign intelligence services to spy on Donald Trump, with John Brennan being knee-deep in the whole thing and our London station chief either being too stupid to figure it out or being part of it. They were using private actors, and those private actors, one of them, was on the U.S. government payroll, and you paid for it. No way. Let's go to this article by Glenn Greenwald, one of the few honest reporters left. Not a conservative, by the way. In The Intercept. Now he's got his own Substack. He got away from these loons at The Intercept. But, quote, Glenn Greenwald, headline. The FBI informant who monitored the Trump campaign, Stefan Halper, oversaw a CIA spying operation in the 1980 presidential election. Glenn Greenwald back in 2018. But at the bottom of this piece is a really interesting little tidbit to tie this whole little gift package together. Gift package, Christmas week, whatever. Here you go. Check this out. This little bad boy right here. Quote, Greenwald. Then there are questions about what appears to be some fairly substantial government, by the way, that's U.S. government payments to Halper throughout 2016. Gee, when the whole spying thing was going on Trump. Halper continues to be listed as a, quote, vendor by websites that track payments by the federal government to private contractors. Crazy. There's the screenshot right there. Stephen Halper, Great Falls, Virginia. So let's just sum this whole thing up for you. There was improper activity with John Brennan at the CIA. For some reason, Barr wants that to go away. Is it because Gina Haspel's telling him it to go away because she was in London when the whole thing was going on and we were using the United Kingdom to spy on Donald Trump and it all happened under our nose and we want to spare the United Kingdom the embarrassment, Gina Haspel, the CIA, and everyone else, so we're going to focus on the FBI, who did equally wrong in this as well, but that's no excuse to let everybody else off the hook. What did Haspel know? When did she know it? It's only fair, right? This all went down in London with a spy on the government payroll who worked in Cambridge and claimed in his own words his source was a Russian guy who appears in State Department notes as the same source the Steele dossier author said was his source, this guy Trubnikov. What's the connection between the two? One last point. Halper, the private actor being paid by the government, working in London while Haspel's the station chief there. And Steele, former UK spy working for Mrs. Clinton. What's the connection between? They're both saying they got the information from Trubnikov. Both of them. All the stuff, the PP stuff and elsewhere. They got Trump over a barrel, to quote Orr. That was attributed to Trubnikov. That's who they're talking about. What's the catch? Why do Halper and Steele both say that? I think they're not telling the truth. They made the whole story up. They attributed it to Trubnikov to give it the imprimatur, the patina, the code of seriousness. We got this from Trubnikov. I think they made the whole thing up. I don't think Trubnikov ever told them that. You think Trubnikov, the head of the foreign Russian intelligence, has this information and nobody knows about it but these two private actors? I think they made the whole thing up. I don't think they heard that from Trubnikov at all. I think they made it up. And what's the connection between the two of them? Chapter 6. I'll tell you, I'm not, you buy it or not, I'll tell you right here. I'm not like, oh, T is only in my book. No. But if you want it in detail, all the details and the references, chapter 6 of my book. What's the connection between Steele and Halper, who both have the same source? Wouldn't it be really bizarre if Christopher Steele's handler was Gaeta, the London FBI agent working in London, you know, where Haspel was a station chief, and Halper's handler was Stephen Soma, case agent 1, the one responsible for most of the untruths in the FISA document. And wouldn't it be even weirder if those two both had a connection and both worked in the New York field office? I know there's a lot going on with the election and other things. I've got that President Trump just brought a case to the, hopefully they're petitioning for writ at the Supreme Court for the Pennsylvania case. I'll give you some updates and all that stuff. I know there's a lot going on, folks, but this is only the biggest scandal of our time. And I'm sorry, but what Bill Barr said can't possibly be true. Now you have the full story. Soup to nuts.